All right, we left off exactly here last time, where we launched Eclipse and it popped up to this select a workspace. Now, the workspace is where all your files live in Eclipse. It's where your projects will get loaded into. They don't have to be in the same folder. There's a lot of configuration options there, but it's basically, for all intents and purposes of what we're doing, where all of our files live. And it's going to, by default, pick your user folder, which is going to be your folder on your computer. It's not going to say user per se, just my machine named me user when it got rebuilt, but it might be your name, it might be your login address, whatever it's going to be inside of here. That's my documents type area, and then workspace. Now, if you're okay with that, you never want to use any place else, you can click this button right here, and it'll never ask you to where that is again. If you want to have this pop up every time, leave it unclicked, and you can pick a workspace each different time. And you can see there's actually many workspaces it'll remember later on, and you can switch between them. It doesn't really matter. It's a choice that you can make on your own and change it as you like later on. So I hit OK, and now it's going to go off and launch Eclipse. This might be quick for you. It might be a little bit slower depending on your machine. Mine's pretty quick. So I come into the welcome screen. Nice little screen, lets you know a little bit about stuff. You probably won't look at this more than the first couple times you enter Eclipse, if you even spend that much time on it the first time. But you see there are tutorials and samples and things you can do from there. And if you're curious about it, you can use those things. Now, when I close that, it brings me into my basic workspace. And you can see up in the top right, it says Java. One of the things Eclipse allows you to do is have what's called a perspective based off of what you're working on. So if I'm doing a lot of Java development, there's the Java perspective. If I'm doing database development, there's other database perspectives that are out there. If I'm doing Java enterprise development, there's enterprise development. Now, I don't have most of those here because I have just the base install of Eclipse. But even here you can see I can go to the debug perspective, which we'll talk about in another session, which lays out my screen very differently based off of what they're assuming is the things I want to see when I do debugging. And now up in the top right, you can see I have Java and debug, and I can move between these window perspectives and this different set of windows and where they're located however I want to. The base Eclipse allows me to move things around very, very flexibly. So I have, for instance, the ability to create a project. So let's do that now. File, I'm sorry, there's a little button here. I can go Java project, or I can go File, New Java project, or I can right-click over here, say New Java project. Eclipse will give you 3 or 4 different ways to get to almost anything. You have buttons, you have right-clicks, you have file menus, and even there's hotkeys sometimes we'll see later on as well. It doesn't matter which one of these paths I take. If I right-click, say New Java project, or the other 2 options, they all end up at the same place. So my project is going to be Hello Eclipse, just because I want to get something out there. And that's the name of the project. You can see it creates it in that workspace I just was talking about. Hello Eclipse, the project is inside of there. This stuff normally is pretty set. It's advanced stuff for setting up Java if you want to. You can hit Next or Finished here. If we hit Next, you can see there's other advanced options that you might not know about now. We're not going to mess with them. We'll just hit Finish. So Hello Eclipse is now my project, and this is where I can add source code. So I can right-click here and say New Class. And this is just going to be a test class. And there's my test class. You can see it shows up. This is my editing window, my editing pane. The outline will show me as I add in different options inside of here. So if I create a public void method, name method, you can see it shows up over here as being a method. If I do a second one, public void second, it shows up as a second one. Now, let's say I have a really, really long document and I can't see it all at one time. The nice thing with the outline is I click on method, it pops the method. I click on second, it pops a second. This is a quick navigation feature. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of this taking up this much space. So I would like to either just close this all together or move it at least. And let me show you how I can do that. So if I click on this tab, I can drag it around and see all of a sudden these green things start popping up. So if I put it down here, I can split my screen top to bottom instead of left to right. I'm putting this out here. Or I can bring it all the way down here and add it to one of the tabs down below. So if you see I'm dragging it over, little green spot shows up, and now my outline is down below, on one of these tabs. Or if I don't like that, I can put it to the side and have these things be side by side. Or I can bring it over here and put it at the bottom over here. Or if I'm really sick of it, I can just close it and have it be gone. Now, if I close it, doesn't mean it's gone. I just have to go to Window, Show View, Outline, and it shows back up where I had it last time. And so nothing is ever totally gone, and everything is totally flexible in how I lay out my Eclipse setup. We're not going to do a lot of coding here. I just want you to get a feel for Eclipse once it's started and the things you can do to move stuff around, but we'll do some coding in another session. So we're going to leave it there for now.